Almost 5 years ago today, I was honorably discharged from the United States Army to begin my civilian career. And after 5 years as a civilian, I have learned so many things that I wish I knew while I was in the military, prior to even joining the military, and definitely things that could have helped me as I was transitioning out of the military. If you're considering a military career or you're already serving in the military, I'd like to take the time in this video to share some of these things with you. Hey everyone, and welcome back. This is the Part-Time Economist, and in today's video I want to share all of the things that I wish I would have known in the military, prior to the military, and even getting out of the military. Now keep in mind, these are my personal experiences. The policies, procedures, programs that you're eligible for are going to vary a little bit depending on your branch of service, as well as simply changing over time. So again, this is a general video. It's not me telling you what to do with your life or your career. With that being said, I will put timestamps in the video so you can jump around as necessary, but I think the best place to begin is before you even join the military. And there is a lot that I wish I would have known prior to joining the military. Two key things. You need to know, do you want to be officer or enlisted, and what kind of job do you want to do? Because this is going to have massive implications, not just on you joining the military, but on the career you get when you get out of the military. So let's talk about the first thing I wish I would have known. The first thing that I wish I would have known is that officers and enlisted soldiers, at least in the Army, are assigned their jobs in very different ways. Now, for example, when you join the Army, if you come in as an enlisted soldier, you get to pick the exact job you want to do. At least when I was going through the process, and keep in mind this can change, but when I was going through the process, officers didn't have the same ability. You could rank your preferences, you could do some different things, but you weren't guaranteed a job in the same way that you were as an enlisted soldier. So kind of to go back and show how this impacted my career, I knew in high school that I wanted to join the military. I knew I was going to do it. I was talking to the recruiters, and I got a lot of scholarships to go to college. I had the opportunity to play soccer in college, and my thought process was, I'm going to get my degree. The military is always going to be there. I've basically got free money on the table. Well, fast forward a couple years, I'm graduating from college, and what do you know? I get scholarships to go to a PhD program. I'm in this PhD program for about a month or two, and I'm thinking to myself, I do not like this. It is way too abstract. I don't feel like I'm meaningfully contributing to society. I want to join the military. I'm tired of putting it off. So I left my PhD program and I went to talk to the recruiter. And my thought process was, hey, I can just tell them what job I want. I realized that as an officer, I might get put in supply or HR or something like that. And those are very important careers. They are fields that the military wouldn't function without, but they were not for me, at least at that point in my life. I did not want to leave the civilian world and do what I thought would be a civilian job in the military getting less pay. Now, my thought process there, I didn't have all the information. Maybe doing a civilian job in the military would have been a better career choice, but at least at the time, I didn't want that. I wanted to do something combat arms. I wanted to be infantry, artillery, armor, something like that. So, despite already having my bachelor's degree, I went enlisted. So, the reason that I bring this up is because if you know that you're going to go enlisted right from the start, right? You want an 18 X-ray contract. You want to go to RASP, right? You want to get a very specific job in the military. You know you're going to go enlisted, then joining right out of high school might not be a bad option. Because think about it this way. I was very fortunate. I had a lot of money for scholarships, but most people don't have that opportunity. If you're going to spend $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 to get debt in college, and then you're going to come in at the same pay grade as an enlisted soldier, all that money that you spent didn't really benefit you in a financial sense. Now, if you want to join as an officer, totally different story, right? You go, you get your degree, you come in, you make more money, right? or you go to ROTC, then you come in as an officer and you make more money. But specifically, if you want to be enlisted from the very start, going and spending all this money on a college degree doesn't make a whole lot of financial sense. So that's the first thing. Secondly, if you know you're going to be enlisted anyway, it takes on average about 4 to 5 years to get a bachelor's degree. Not only are you spending all this money, but if you think about it, you're going to be 4 to 5 years behind someone that joined right out of high school, right? So someone joins right out of high school. Let's just suppose they are a private PV1, right? They've got absolutely no rank. Within 4 to 5 years, they should definitely be an E5 sergeant looking towards E6 staff sergeant. You're going to have your degree. Maybe you come in as a specialist E4 pay grade, right? This might happen, but again, you've spent all that money and you're behind someone that started their career earlier. So just some things to keep in mind there. Also, if you're trying to pick a very specific job in the military, keep in mind that just because the military has a job on their website, it doesn't mean you can go down to the recruiter and sign up for that job right away. The military, specifically the Army, always has different jobs that are over strength, under strength, or balanced MOSs. If you're trying to get into something that is under strength, you can walk down to the recruiter, go to MEPS, and you're probably going to ship to that job pretty quickly because the military needs those people. But if you're looking for a specific job that the military is over strength or they just don't have a lot of vacancies for, you might be waiting a while. So it pays off to start that process with the recruiter early so that you're already kind of in that waiting list, in that queue, so that they can snag that job for you when it becomes available. So that's the first two things that I would suggest is knowing, do you want to get a specific job as an enlisted soldier or do you want to be an officer? Because that's going to determine what you do going into the military. Also, when it comes to MOS career choice, I, like I said, wanted to go into combat arms. At the time, that's what I thought was going to be best for me. In my mind, I didn't really understand that even if I would have went into information technology or even if I would have went into supply, right? I didn't know that those people still go on field exercises. They still get to go to the training events. They still deploy, right? So try to talk to people that are actually in the service or have been in the service just so you get a better idea of what the job description actually entails. Now, when you actually join the military, there's a couple things I wish I would have known. Number one, I wish I would have known about basic training. Now, if you're watching this video prior to going to basic training, the one piece of advice I could give you is to always remember basic training is designed for you to succeed. Now, I'm not saying blow it off. I'm not saying don't take it seriously. I'm saying it's designed for you to pass. So when I went to basic training, I did my preparation beforehand. I was doing my push-ups, my sit-ups, my run, everything like that. And that's good. It's good to prepare. But I was also that guy that in basic training, you don't get a lot of time to sleep. And I was waking up even earlier than our official wake up time so I could clean the barracks, so that I could shave before everyone else, right? So I could do all of these different things. I put so much stress on myself that I didn't really get the full experience of basic training because I was always so worried. What if I don't pass? What if I don't make it, right? So again, remember that basic training is designed for you to pass. And to add on to that, not only is basic training designed for you to pass, but most schools in the Army, and I would assume other branches as well, are designed for you to pass, right? If you're going to your AIT, if you're learning how to be a cook, how to be a firefighter, how to be a military police officer, right? Those things, they're sending you to that training because they need cooks and firefighters and police officers, right? They're not sending you to this training and spending money on you just so they can fail you and laugh at you, right? They are designed for you to pass. Yes, you still have to do the work. You've got to put in the effort, but the military needs people to do these jobs, which is why they are training you. Now, if you're going to a selection program, right? You're going to SFAS or you're going to RASP or something like that. Those are selection programs, right? They're designed to be tough. They're designed to weed people out. But for the vast majority of your actual training, your schools that you're going to, those are designed for you to pass. So do your best and remember that your drill sergeants, They might come in, they might yell, they might scream at you, they might say that you're worthless, right? But at the end of the day, those drill sergeants, they're getting evaluated by the first sergeant, right? They're getting evaluated by the company commander. And part of how they're getting evaluated is how many people that they're passing. So keep in mind, they are there to help you succeed, even if it doesn't seem like it in the moment. Second thing I wish I knew about being in the military. There are a lot of programs available for you. So when you're in the military, you have access to the tuition assistance. I wish I would have taken more advantage of this. Now, like I said, I had my bachelor's degree coming in, but let's suppose you do not have your bachelor's degree. It's even more important for you to take advantage of tuition assistance, because when you get out of the military, you're going to use your post 9/11 GI Bill or your Montgomery GI Bill. Now, these programs are educational benefits, but they only last for a certain number of months. Again, you can check up how many months they last for. I don't know it off the top of my head, but the more work you do while you're in the military, let's say you can only do one course per semester, you do a 4-year contract, you've got 8 college courses out of the way. That's almost a full semester. So now, instead of getting out of the military and having to do a 4-year bachelor's degree, you've cut that time down to 3.5 years. That gets you into the workforce sooner, and it helps you preserve months of your GI Bill. So if you want to go back and do some kind of additional training, you have preserved those months by doing some of the tuition assistance while you are in the military. So that's something I wish I would have taken more advantage of while I was in the military. I also wish that I would have known that you are the driver of your military career. And this is totally different than your experience going to the recruiter. When you walk by a recruiter, if you look like you can do some push-ups, if you're wearing a flag t-shirt, right, there's this idea that the recruiter is just going to grab you and get you into the office and send you off to basic training, right? That was my perception. And the recruiters are really good about getting people into the military. You tell them you want to do something, they will have that contract in your hand. Once you get into the military, though, it's a little bit different. If you want to go to OCS, if you want to go to Ranger School, if you want to go to any of these programs, you have got to make that happen. And that's something that I wish I would have known. When I got to my unit, I started thinking, maybe I want to do this OCS. Maybe I want to do green to gold, right? And I told some people I was interested in it. I kind of started the process, but I was expecting someone like my recruiter to just come in and push that process through for me, and it simply didn't happen. Now, fast forward a couple years, I became an NCO, a sergeant, and I had a soldier that worked for me who came in with their bachelor's degree. They wanted to go to OCS, and I was supportive of that. I tried to help them, but at the end of the day, they were the one making that happen. They were the person setting up these meetings, going to these boards, pushing through something that they wanted to see in their career. There's things I would have liked to have done in the military, but I didn't push them through. And that's something that you need to know. Once you join, it's on you to take your career where you want it to go. When it comes time to getting out of the military, I wish I would have known how important it is to start your transition as early as possible. I did my initial transition class where you just take an online computer class probably a year before I got out, and I kind of just put everything on the back burner until my last couple of months. But in reality, you should be starting your transition at least a year out, perhaps even more. Now, it may seem crazy to think about getting out of the military this early, but think about how long it takes to apply to college. In some circumstances, it can take several months. And not only do you have to apply to college, you've got to figure out, where do you want to go to college? Where do you want to live? What kind of degree do you want to do? What kind of job do you want to get? Even if you're doing something and you're saying, I'm just going to get out of the military and I'm going to start working, let's suppose that you're applying for a job. You're not going to get out of the military and then the next day go apply to work at a job. In most cases, the interview process for many jobs, especially, people get out and they say, I want to work for the government, I want to work for the feds. Especially if you're trying to do any kind of government work, those hiring processes can take months and months and months. There are some jobs that I had applied for on USA Jobs where you're lucky to hear something back 6-7 months. I don't know what my record is for getting a notification that I didn't get a job on USA Jobs, but it takes a very long time for these hiring processes. So you can actually start this while you're in the military so that once you get out, you've only got a month or two to wait to start your job. Also, the earlier you start this transition, you can take advantage of programs that are related to your transition. So again, I'm speaking from an Army perspective. We had some programs where you could actually be kind of like assigned to a learning unit and get a certificate or something like that, right? Also, when it comes to getting out of the military, you need to take your healthcare seriously. I know when you're in the service, there's kind of a stigma about going to sick call, right? I don't want to be the guy that's always going to sick call. A lot of veterans don't put in claims with the Veterans Affairs. So there's two things I want to say about this. The first, you need to go to sick call if you are sick, right? I'm not talking about being that one guy that is always missing the field exercises, that's always missing training because they magically get some mystery illness right before a training event. I'm not talking about that. If you've got a headache that isn't going away for a month, if every time you do PT, your knee is hurting, you need to get that checked out, right? Number one, to get the treatment you need while you're in service. But number two, because when you get out of the military and you're thinking about submitting this VA claim, they're going to look back through those records. If you have no record whatsoever of a specific injury and then you go and you tell them, yeah, I just didn't go to sick call, they might still approve it. I don't know. I don't make the decisions, but it's not going to give you as strong of a case as if you have it documented. So you will get pushback. I had the same thing happen to me, right? When I went to sick call, I had an issue that I needed to bring up, and it was kind of like, why are you going to sick call? You're slacking, right? You will get pushback anytime you go to sick call, but whenever that happens, just remember, you're thinking about your future, you're thinking about your long-term health. Secondly, do not be afraid to put in a claim with the VA. A lot of veterans, they're thinking, I'm tough, I'm going to soldier through it. You might be thinking, yeah, my knee hurts a little bit, but it's not bad enough to put in a VA claim. It's not your job to decide that. It's the VA's job to decide that. If you've got something wrong with you, if you're having an issue that you're struggling with, put in the claim. And the reason I say this is because you don't know how things are going to change, right? You get out of the military, you're 25, that knee pain that you think you have might just be a little annoyance now. Maybe you get 30, 40, 50 years old and that becomes a major event, and now you don't have the health care that you need to take care of that. So take care of yourself, go to sick call, submit your VA claim for the injuries that you had, because you have done things that normal people have not done. You've done these training exercises, right? You've been in these austere conditions, right? And part of your sacrifice wasn't just the time away from your family. It's these injuries that you have, these injuries that are going to be with you for the rest of your life. The VA, all of these programs, they exist for a reason. And that's because our country, through their elected representatives, wants to take care of their veterans. They are there to help you, so use those resources. Also, if you are planning on using the Montgomery GI Bill or the post 9/11 GI Bill, give some thought to where you want to live and what you want to do. Now, when I got out of the military, I went back to more or less my hometown. I got my master's of business, and I found that there was really no jobs for that type of degree in my area, right? I had this degree, it was awesome, but I didn't have any jobs, and because I was in such a small town, I didn't really have connections to get those jobs either. So if you want to work in Silicon Valley, if you want to work in wherever, think about going to school there, right? So you're already building up your connections, you're already in the area, you're familiar with the area that you're wanting to work in. Also, if you're considering living abroad, consider doing that while you're studying through the GI Bill. Because if you ever decide you want to move to a different country, you want to live abroad, it can be easier sometimes to get a student visa than getting your degree in the US and then trying to get a work visa. Again, it's going to depend on the country, but a lot of countries give kind of preferential treatment to people that have graduated from university. So just as an example, suppose you want to go to Canada. It can be very hard to get a work permit just to go into Canada, but if you graduate from a Canadian university, you basically can get an open work permit to work for any company after you graduate, right? Not an immigration lawyer, but just keep that in mind. It can be easier to immigrate as a student versus immigrating or living abroad as a working professional. Last thing I want to say before closing out the video is really take this time after getting out of the military to determine what it is that you want to be, how you want to define yourself. And this was hard for me because in the military, you're defined by your MOS, what you wear on your chest, your rank, your badges, your deployment patch, all of these different things. And when you get out and you're a civilian, you're Joe, you're Bob, you're Steve, you're Alice, you're Sally, right? You are no longer Sergeant so-and-so or Captain whoever. You are a civilian, just like everyone else. And it's important to remember your military service. It's important to take all of these lessons and things that you've learned from the military and carry them into your civilian career. But it's also important to remember that you are no longer in the military. The way that people interact with you in a civilian environment is going to be very different from the way you interact with people in the military, the way that you joke, the types of activities that you do. All of these things are going to be different, and it does require a little bit of an adjustment. So it's great to be a veteran. I'm proud to be a veteran, but at the same time, that can't be your only personality, right? We all know that one person at your unit, right, that was just a little bit too hooah, right? That person that went out there, got the 300% interest rate car. They've got a custom license plate that has the unit aligned with it in some way. They wear their beret when they're off duty, right? Like all of these things, right? We all know that guy. And it's the same thing when you get out, right? It's great that you're a veteran. Like I said, I'm proud to be a veteran, but you don't want to be that one person that, oh, what do they do? Oh, they're a veteran. Well, what else about them? You don't want your only identity to be as a veteran, right? You want to have hobbies. You want to have skills. You want to develop these relationships, everything like that. So I just wanted to wrap up with a couple things. Obviously, these are my experiences, and I'm just sharing them here, hoping that they will be helpful to you. The main pieces of advice and things that I wish I would have known are, number one, deciding whether I wanted to be officer or enlisted and really starting that alignment with my career path earlier. If I wanted to be enlisted, it would have made more financial sense for me to join right out of high school. If I wanted to be an officer, it would have made more sense for me to either get my degree and then do OCS or to just straight up go into ROTC and have that path lined up for me right from the very beginning. When I'm in the military, I wish that I would have known how important it is to go to sick call, how to really take charge of my career and drive it where I wanted to go. And then also getting out of the military. I wish I would have done just a little bit more time trying to see what is it actually going to be like on the civilian job market. I wish I would have applied for some civilian jobs even before I left the military. So as always, I do appreciate you watching. I hope you found the video useful, and I'll see you next time.